Alex, what do you think? Third time's the charm?
Third time is the charm, brother. Wow. OBS is just kicking people,
Oh, man.
YouTube is kicking people's ass.
Yeah, welcome back to our best attempt at the Linux tube. So, streaming is hard sometimes. And if you guys have thought about streaming or are new to streaming yourselves, what happened is differently than Twitch or other platforms, YouTube is apparently now generating a separate stream key for each recording.
Yep.
And I don't think that was happening as of last week.
I think that's exactly what killed us last week.
Oh, you think so?
We had
Yeah.
a problem
We had something similar to this.
Started.
But on previous ones when you've been hosting it, it hasn't been a factor. So
well, to me, so in my OBS studio, right next to start streaming is a manage broadcast button, and that's what I use to set it up.
Gotcha. I do it straight from OBS, and I think there might be a mismatch in what OBS puts out versus doing it that way.
Correct.
Okay. I would love to review that offline. Sorry for getting us out here late, guys, but thank you for keeping the chat lively. Looks like we're up to 75% of our poll responders here don't think that Office suites are relevant anymore, and later on in the episode we are definitely going to be talking about that.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. So how's your week been? How's your week been?
It's been a week. I've been excited to do this podcast all week, actually. Earlier today we got to help out at a community event, and I'm feeling good. I've got a lot of production to do tonight. How about you? How's the trip?
So the trip so far is being pretty good. I got a couple videos that I'm posting. One of them just is a cantina here that I went to, and the name of it is just kind of off-putting. But
can we say it without getting demonetized?
Oh yeah, it's called Death Cantina, and I saw that, and I was like, man, who in their right mind would want to eat at a place called Death Cantina? You know what I mean?
In the States, we have the Heart Attack Grill.
Well, yeah, but either way, so I thought that was kind of funny, and so I hang on a second, I'm trying to adjust something here, and so I was saw that, and I went in, talked to the people, very nice folks. Great Filipino menu. They've got like 15 different items on the menu. It's really, really awesome. So shout out to Death Cantina in Pampanga, Philippines.
Nice. Are you going to install Linux on some of their equipment over there, do you think?
They don't have any real point of sale computer or anything there. It's you'll see in the video.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, so anybody who's still left, can you see and hear us? Are we actually live like we think we are?
From what I saw, whenever I switch over, we are
says audio and video is great. Good. We are live. Get a shout out for our lovely mod. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that.
Oglo, are you still in the chat? Can you hear us pretty good? Oglo the nerd.
If he didn't give up on us. So yeah, a lot of semi-controversial stuff to talk about today. You think? So
I do. I definitely think the one topic that I'm the most excited for, well, besides our poll topic, was how everybody talks about how Linux is safe from viruses and malware and all that kind of stuff, and they have this fallacy, of security with Linux, when the reality of it is excuse me, I got a frog in my throat, but the reality of it is when you boil it down to nuts and bolts, every piece of technology is susceptible to exploit somewhere.
Oh, you are absolutely right on that.
Yeah, and so it doesn't matter whether it's a phone or it's a gaming system or anything that's connected. in any way, shape, or form, that point of connection is a potential breach somewhere. And it was recently discovered by the Kaspersky Institute, which, by the way, in Windows, they have the Kaspersky Labs
Yep.
antivirus, Kaspersky antivirus,
I've
which when
used
I
a lot
work,
of their stuff as different sysadmin roles that I've had.
yes, and to be honest with you, that's the only antivirus for Windows that I ever recommended. In fact, we had a partnership with them at our store after, I discovered how great their stuff was. I worked with it and got a partnership with them that, they would send us X amount of free ones to give away for the year, and then also we got ours for free for the court, the company. We got ours for free as well. But anyhow, they have a very extensive, great lab that is 100% dedicated to searching and sniffing out for new malware, viruses, and trojans and all that good stuff, right?
Right.
And so they recently discovered an exploit, which is the it's called the Stripefly malware framework, which infects 1 million Windows and Linux hosts. And what's scary about it is that the way that this thing worked is, and it went undetected for 5 years, and somehow, I mean, they found it kind of sort of on accident.
You want to talk more
Before
about that?
it's a sophisticated. Well, first off, it's cross-platform,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that it goes across Windows, Mac, all that good stuff. And if you guys hear the roosters crowing in the background, I'm sorry. That's just life in the Philippines, man. It's all about the chicken life.
Yeah.
They discovered the true nature of the malware framework last year, finding evidence of its activity starting in 2017. The malware was wrongly classified as just a Monero cryptocurrency miner. And that's what happened is it was disguising itself as a Monero miner. And
Wow.
so when they were looking at the compiler timestamp, that's when they realized that the earliest known version of it was actually in 2016.
Man, that's crazy. So here we are in Linux thinking we're relatively virus free. Meanwhile, that is not the case.
That is not the case. And it's been sitting there residing for over 5 years. And it's been on Linux, like web server hosts and stuff like that. They don't really, they know that from everything that's reading and reading on it, they know that really what it's been doing is just getting, information, background information on people, like passwords, that kind of stuff, capturing, not keys, but just capturing, like, input information, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Like, yeah, I'm not sure if it was keys or it was just a box or whatever.
Yeah, I've got an image here provided by the article that we linked in the show notes. Right now, if you're watching, you should be able to see sort of a chain of how the infection happens, and that was provided from Kaspersky.
The Samba Share version 1 exploit, then it goes to the host, and then from there it goes into the shell code. And that's the part that's really, I mean, it was embedding itself as part of an init system, of the win init exit system, and also in the bash system.
I mean, that's a big deal for me.
Yeah, that's like at the core of your entire system. Normally, the way most viruses work on Linux is they get into, like the user, home directory, that kind of stuff. They don't actually reside on a system level like this one did.
Right. This one actually went through and started going after important Linux files too. Here in the article, it mentions that it goes to etcrc.profile, bashrc, init tab. Like, this is a big deal. And, maybe other people were covering it previously, but I don't remember hearing about it.
No, nobody. This is exactly why I was like, what the hell? When I ran across this article, I was like, what the hell? Are you serious? I mean, this definitely goes to show, one of the main reasons why decades ago, and the fallacy has come to play as to how safe and secure Linux actually kind of is because viruses weren't really written against Linux, because
Right.
9 times out of 10, the person that was creating a lot of these viruses and stuff were hackers, and they weren't.
Right.
You know,
Maybe the
you're gonna
hacker,
go
maybe the viruses were written on Linux, but people weren't targeting us with any
exactly
significant.
because there wasn't that many users. I mean,
Right.
of Linux. You know, there wasn't that many users of Linux. So in that time, you know, what were you going to catch? You're going to catch maybe out of 100 million people that you went to, or 1 million people you went to, maybe 5% of them. You know, you were going to catch some stuff, but the reality is you weren't you know you weren't going to catch as much as you needed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Capture what you needed. And so that being said,
We've got a
now,
summary of the modules as well up here on the screen for anybody that's looking.
yeah. And so now the reality of it is as the market share of Linux has grown, that bullseye for our share of malware, spyware, viruses has literally quintupled, you know. And so that's what we're seeing here right now. These people were, whoever wrote this, and you know, I don't think they have anybody, you know, in their sights as to who wrote it, but whoever wrote this, from what I understand, is damn near bordering on genius.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you read an article too, it knows it even set up a Tor network, a C2 server on Tor network, and was communicating with it, which did beacon messages containing the victim's unique ID. So it set up a Tor network with your own ID of your computer or whatever, and it was communicating on it to wherever it was going to.
That's crazy.
Are you there?
And with it updating Linux system files, you know, that's major consideration about Linux. And you know, you and I talked a few episodes back that there was a popular download site that started redirecting Linux users to malicious deb packages. Do you remember?
Yeah.
So the idea of Linux is completely safe from viruses is a myth at best, and we can't be telling people that that's what it is. It is a lower risk, but we're going to look like we're selling snake oils. Oh, Linux, you're never going to get a virus. That's ignorant. Absolutely. It's ill-informed, and we shouldn't be saying that. We still have a duty to keep our systems clean.
Absolutely, and that's why I chose this topic for that very reason, because you know we're like I said, you know, our user base has grown substantially in the last 3 years. We're now we're 3% market share, probably closer to 4 now. You know, thanks to Valve and all the work that they did, and you know, actually, and also a lot of the distributions becoming easy to install, being more user friendly. All that is in play, and so as a result of that, you know, yeah, you're bringing other great people to the table, you know, by as far as new developers coming in, new users are coming in that are willing and wanting to do things better for Linux, you know, but that's also bringing in bad actors as well. And what's interesting is, to quote, the malware payload encompasses multiple modules, enabling the actor to perform as an APT, as a crypto miner, and even as a ransomware group.
Yeah, and the article goes on to say they're linking to another malware server, correct?
Yes, exactly. And what's funny is not only are they getting your information through their exploit,
right,
for whatever nefarious purposes they're choosing to use it for, but they're also turning your computer into a miner, an actual narrow miner, and they've minored at approximately, they average you know, I guess they maintain a value of about $150 according to the article. So they're like double winning. I mean, these people, whoever these people are that did this together, are like, let me put it to you this way, man. You ever watch that movie Catch Me If You Can?
No, I have
not. That's the guy that used to, he was a fraud, like total freaking con man, and he fraudulently became an actual pilot for United Airlines, I believe.
Oh, that's wild.
It was a movie by Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah, and he actually got paid by them, and you know, but he never even He never even took flying lessons. He just started flying an airplane and
That's
and
terrifying.
stuff.
No thanks.
Well, yeah, well, and then he wound up eventually, getting used to that money. Once they found out, they fired him. He got used to that lifestyle, and so he started actually doing a check cash, washing, scheme where he just forged, United Airlines checks and cashed them everywhere. Well, it's kind of what these guys did. They did that, but they did it on a digital level, where they, where they become you, and then they just start turning your computer into an actual, check cashing thing by doing a Monero miner.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I've seen viruses, again, more on Windows, not just replicate themselves, but use the infected computers as like a distributed computing network. And that's kind of what I'm feeling like happened here. You distribute all of that bad activity over all the computers you've infected.
Yeah, I mean, these things, this virus goes into the SSH, as well, where, I mean, what's like designed to be a secret key for you in your computer communication. Right. I mean, it goes that deep. It creates its own SSH key, man. I mean, it's just insane.
Thanks.
At what they turn your computer into. I mean, I applaud them.
Like, it's technically marvelous, but
you them, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
exactly.
But
I mean, this is some kind of fucking virus, or malware that they created here.
Yeah, they put some time into it, clearly. And what do you guys think? Have you run across this virus or heard about it before we're covering it?
I don't, I said, I've never heard of it before.
Yeah. Are you keeping up with the chat, by the way?
No, well, yeah, I am now. Chicken Linux, the life story of a chicken, which that's crazy.
So there was
that actually leads me to another question. Sure. Outside of Clam AV, how long before? I mean, I don't even know. Does Kaspersky even make a Linux antivirus?
I don't think I've heard of it. I don't think most people, including myself, I don't run an antivirus. I run Firewall D.
Right.
But yeah, there was a little sidebar while you were talking.
Quick Google search on antiviruses, and there's, I guess, a few of them out there. I'm trying to load up Commando's Commando's best antivirus for Linux 2022. Free antivirus for Linux. There's that.
We'll have to do another episode just on antivirus and firewalls.
Yeah, because, that would be very good.
Yeah, I mean, the first half
I know of Clam AV.
I've heard of it, but I've never really messed with it.
So there's Clam AV, there's ChrootKit, and then there's the Commodore antivirus. Also is CAVL, and then FProt for Linux, and then RootKit Hunter. So there's a few of them out there, which I didn't realize there were that many.
Kaspersky endpoint security for Linux, says Springles. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Mod coming in clutch again.
Yes. Definitely gotta do a show on that, especially following up off this one.
Oh, absolutely, sure. Yeah. And the first half of our whole show today is really on just bad behavior in the computer world. So, much less threatening, but no less what I would consider bad behavior, because it's intrusive. It's not cool. I'm not into this. Microsoft, again, for being a Linux podcast, we have reason to talk about them fairly often. And I think the results of what I'm going to go into here is going to bring more people to Linux, just as they're getting tired of things like this. Do you remember, have you installed Windows 11 anytime recently?
No, I have not.
Because there are a lot of people who may not know this, but when you go through the Windows 11 installer, you set up your privacy and security settings, and one of the check boxes that you have to uncheck, at least the last time I did it, for somebody, I think it was for my partner, because she had gotten frustrated at the Linux Steam client and went back to Windows for a bit, but I have a feeling she'll be back soon. So you have to uncheck the idea that you would send your typing and inking data to Microsoft. So inputs from like a Wacom tablet with the pen or your keystrokes, if you don't uncheck that when you're doing a clean install, it will send your typing data to Microsoft. What they do with it, I don't know.
Last I knew, there was a whole bunch of telemetry that they were gathering, and you had to opt out instead of opting in.
Right, and who knows what was selected if you do like a manufacturer PC. I don't remember the last time I had a manufacturer PC, so I wouldn't know what there's that.
You mean like when you go to a big box store and you buy the PC that's already set up?
Right, like an HP, Dell, something like that. I don't remember if you get to set those settings yourself or not.
No, they don't. No, they're not already completely set up. No, once you fire it up and you click on the desktop, then it takes you right to that page where you got to opt out of everything.
Oh, okay. So it does still show it to people? Good. Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, it still shows it to people. It has to, because, I mean, unless you give the actual store your credentials to set it up for you, they can't set it up for you. They
sure.
Username, or password, anything like that.
My production laptop that I'm using right now to stream here, it's a Dell, but even when I was using Windows on it for a project, I didn't let it use the Dell version. I always do a clean install from the Windows ISO so that I have control over all that. But, all that to say, I have to believe some of that telemetry fed into the behavior that we're going to cover on my first topic today. So let's go ahead here. And if you guys can't see this article, please let me know. But pulled from The Verge, I really like the way they cover certain tech things. Microsoft is now still, rather, because this isn't new behavior, but the way they're doing it is, they inject a poll when you download Google Chrome from Edge. And the quote in the article says, "Can you please take a minute to tell us why you are trying another browser?" There's some images here that you see. There's a pop-up that you get. There's no need to download a new web browser. Microsoft recommends Edge. Like, that feels gross to me. I want to know, what kind of trigger is telling Microsoft that that's what you're doing? Are they looking at the URL? Are they looking at cookies? Are they looking at, demographics data? Where are they making the determination to show you that?
For me, truthfully, the only way to know exactly what page you're on, unless they're capturing every bit of data that's being right. I
don't want to be
sent across in packets, unless you're doing packet captures on your internet transmission and decrypting whatever it is.
Right. I don't want to go.
They're capturing you typing into URL.
Right. I don't know. I haven't seen this in a while, but I have seen it. And I don't remember where it was, and I certainly don't want to be like a doomsayer saying, scaring people. But this is not cool. And I'm showing some more of the different pop-ups that you'll get. Google says thanks for downloading, and Edge will tell you, Microsoft Edge runs on the same tech as Chrome with the trust of Microsoft. Guys, we don't really trust Microsoft over here. So
that's a joke. The trust of Microsoft. Oh, wow.
I mean, but just,
Microsoft, I think the only people that don't realize who Microsoft is actual fucking Microsoft.
Oh, man. It just, this is a good thing here. Okay. Springle says the article didn't show. Okay. That's interesting.
Weird.
I wonder if there's some like DRM that wasn't passed from The Verge.
He says looking good now. He says looking good now. Later on, article is showing.
Okay,
says.
perfect. I think when I interacted with it, it showed up.
Yeah.
Okay. So the point being, like, guys, this is gross. Like, what are we?
100% gross.
So I have a feeling, you know, if people start reading articles like this more, we're going to get waves of angry, you know, previous Windows users. And, you know, we're going to have to remind them that not even just your OS can spy on you, but you still need antivirus or a firewall or something like you were alluding to. It's not a safe haven.
Yeah, at this point in time, you know, a thought just went off in my head like a cherry bomb. But at this point in time, the question's got to be asked: what more does Microsoft have to do to drive people away? I mean, seriously, between like you just said, between going, you know, subscription based, which is now debunked supposedly, but that's something that they're toying with apparently. They're
Right,
looking
somebody
to do
had the
something,
idea.
and that's going down the road. Now they're injecting these polls into and tracking and looking at exactly what it is that you're doing with your browser. You know, I mean, what freaking more does Microsoft have to do to convince people to not trust them, and that they're
Right.
really,
And then to
you know,
put words in there like you have the trust of Microsoft
yeah,
when
I
they
mean,
have
what
breached
more
your
do they
trust by
have to freaking
interrupting
do?
your to say you have the trust of Microsoft and then they are breaching that trust to ask you why you're leaving.
Exactly. I mean, it makes you know, it boggles my mind. You know, and it's, you know, and my mind goes to LTT. You know, who is the Windows fanboy? We all know that. I mean, and I
Yeah.
watch him. You know, I'm a subscriber to his channel and stuff. You know, because he does have some good points. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and the thing is, you know, how many of these, like, when is he going to realize and say this is enough? And actually, there are videos where he's actually come out and said, I just don't trust Microsoft. He
Yeah.
says that's kind of a joke. He says it on the WAN show. He says and all that kind of stuff. But when is it going to be enough to convince him to say, okay, this is enough?
Yeah.
When are we just going to stop with the Microsoft crap and either start steering people to freaking Mac or to Linux?
Well, I mean, I've seen at least one good video on how to set up a Linux PC for gaming on LTT. And I think that they were using Pop OS as the
You're talking about the Linux challenge when they did the Linux challenge.
I believe so, yeah. And it was a good informative video for what it was, and I think a lot of people use that as a springboard to come over. But I can't imagine how mad I would be if, you know, if I was not a super techie person and I came across this article. I'd be mad, like, how did you know? Or, you know, if that's what I was trying to do and it popped up and I'm like, what the hell? Now,
Yeah,
I mean,
it would well, I mean, just to even, I mean, the thought of it, like,
it's
in this
invasive. It's
article.
not cool. It's bad
Yeah,
behavior.
yeah, it is. And like I said, you know, they're getting more and more prevalent. Before they would put up a nag or something like that. I remember it was being a nag of some sort down at the bottom. You know,
It's one thing to ask you to activate your software, that I get.
yeah.
But telling you what programs you should use doesn't really feel good in
Not
that
only
way.
that, but they've also gone to the point with all their signatures, you know, their hardware signatures, that they tell you what hardware to use.
Yeah, there's that too.
I mean, it's to put it lightly, it's garbage. It's 100% garbage, and that's exactly why I don't like. And listen, it has nothing to do with proprietary, okay, at all. Because
Right.
you know what, man, you get into business to make money. You don't get into business to give away money.
Sure,
You
I get
know,
that. Yeah.
and so I get that they got into business to make money on a computing level. So that's fine. Do what you want, man. But at least have some damn ethics about allowing people to have freedom over their own hardware that they paid 2,000, 3,000,
It doesn't matter if they paid $1. They did not give you the right to interfere in how they use their computer.
Exactly.
At least not intentionally. Maybe they buried it in the fine print somewhere, but that just goes back to having ethics.
But exactly, it goes back to having ethics. I mean, let's call it what it is, man. There are a bunch of freaking butt pirates out there, man, that are just trying to freaking take everything they can from you, and they're trying to turn everything into, I am 100%. All right, now I know I sound like a conspiracy theorist, man, but as I said before, that thought was there. It was definitely leaked from an internal source, and it made it to the media, and the media did its thing, and it caused them, from the reactions they had, to say, well, not just yet. All that means is that Microsoft is going to turn around and they're going to find another way to chicken shit hide it somewhere and do
Who,
what they want with the subscription based thing.
who knows?
That's
I
all
mean,
that means.
but that's again, the freedom of choice you have with Linux. And there are people out there, I think, that definitely view Canonical as, an up and coming Microsoft. I don't think it's quite that bad yet. But, it's, those kind of behaviors are certainly out there in the tech world.
If I had to put my computing stuff into proprietary hands, it would either be for sure Fedora or Canonical.
Yeah, at this point, I think those are our two best choices. If that's what we had, we're not using Oracle stuff. We're not using Opera GX.
No, I definitely. I mean, if I had to choose a lesser of two evils, it would definitely be one of those two. Yep. You know what I mean?
We still have at least the illusion of freedom.
I still wouldn't call them evil. I mean,
no.
You still have flexibility to add or remove things with it. I mean, you still have ability to see, code. You know what I mean? On important stuff. So I mean, I really wouldn't, really call them evil. They're just an annoyance. Would be more of anything.
For sure. What do you guys think? Have you seen this kind of behavior before?
Yeah, definitely leave a comment down below, man. I mean, it's I'm really, as much as I enjoy it because it gives content, but I'm really sick and tired of hearing Microsoft do this kind of crap. And I'm asking the world, when are you ready to say no to this Microsoft machine doing what they do? I mean, there has to be a line somewhere.
I have a completely humorous but somewhat related thought here. I don't know if you guys watch, and if this ever gets to the attention of them, that'd be so cool. There's a bunch of people that I follow on Twitch, and you'll see them on YouTube and stuff. One of the guys is Scammer Revolts, and he goes by Pierogi, I believe, is his name.
Well, make sure you tag him in the description.
Yeah, and
comments down below.
And what he does is he gets numbers of the call centers that very often they pretend to be Microsoft. And they'll run scams on people and tell them that, thank you for calling Microsoft. And they'll show you a pop-up, right? And the pop-up will happen. It'll have a number. The number goes to their scam call center or whatever. And they'll pretend to be Microsoft, and they run scams on uninformed people. I am interested to see if they called one of these scam call centers asking about this legitimate Microsoft caused concern. Why am I being told not to download Chrome? Because no, it's not actually Microsoft, but I'd want to see, it'd be kind of funny to see it's a real thing. It's not part of their scripts. Microsoft isn't going to fix it, obviously. These scammers, I wonder what they think. Throw a real problem at them and see what they do.
That's freaking funny.
Yeah, like if you don't know, I definitely endorse him. I don't always agree with all of the tactics he uses, and sometimes they're a little cringy, but him and all of the folks he works with, they're heroes. They take down scammer call centers, and I think that's so cool. But
that kind of reminds me of the secret shopper thing that LTT does.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting a little off topic.
What's up, Nate?
Hey,
Nate's in the chat. Nice.
So yeah, but getting off of the topic of bad behavior, we've got interesting things to talk about with your next topic. That's a little bit better behavior. Snap package progression. How about that?
Sort of, yes. I mean, you got your people out there who love Snap, and you got those people out there who hate it. And, I know that Matt over at the Linux Cast just totally deplores them. And he even recently came out with a video against flat packs too. And he's right on what he said about the flat packs. By the way, just a PSA that they are starting to your flat packs are now having to download dependencies as well.
Well, that's how they work, because it's a containerized environment.
No, but that's what I'm saying. But I mean, it was supposed to be all in the container. It's actually downloading additional dependencies outside of the flat pack.
Okay, now that kind of defeats the point.
Exactly, which is what he said. Color me stupid, but I thought it was supposed to be a containerized thing, and it's supposed to be that way. And he's absolutely right.
Oh boy!
But so anyhow, so the Firefox 120 is out, which is in the beta, and the beta is basically what's big about it is it's got all the security features of the 119 that came out the door, right? But what it's doing is it's allowing you to actually import Chromium browser data into the Firefox Snap. And so that's why I'm talking about it, because that's kind of a cool little feature.
That's a big deal.
That is a big deal. Exactly. That's a pretty big deal. So in essence, you're able to take and import all your stuff right into your Firefox Snap if you're on Ubuntu, and actually in the 119, that's another feature as well. In the 120 standalone, that's another feature, the beta that's coming in now. What was really funny though, and this is the part that they one of the things is, and somebody said to me, you do know that when you're doing private browsing, it's not really private browsing, but the fact is
your ISP can still see it.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is when you're doing like private browsing, and it's asking, it used to be it asked you, do you want to allow this and that to go on in the background, and you'd have to click no. Well, now they finally got it somewhere in their thick coconut that, hey, you know what, man? We should not even have to ask this. We should just say no to it right away, so you don't even have to do it. So they finally
opt in versus opt out.
yeah. On private browsing. So that one's like the comical thing, at the moment with it, man. Then the other thing is they did the picture in picture, which is snap to corner, which is pretty cool. They also implemented key bindings into it as well. Firefox looks to introduce a new key binding shortcuts for editing, which is Alt plus Enter, and deleting, which is Alt plus backspace. And then they also enabled support for TLS anchors on Android, and the new user activation API to allow JavaScript to check for if the user is or has been active on a web page. So I mean they're taking some good links at making things a little bit more streamlined. I think they're learning a little bit from Google Chrome in that aspect, and that's why they're importing a lot of Chrome stuff into it. So I mean it still is Firefox though, and it's going to do some Firefox things, but other than that, I mean, I really enjoy what they've done as far as like being more, how do I put it, more security focused than they already were, and then allowing you to actually move and import stuff into it, to help set it up to what, if you're making a transition from Chromium to them for whatever reason, it just easily seamlessly syncs for you. So I mean that is a very big step on their part. They're opening up and they're trying to do better for the people. So
yeah, as a quick loop back to our previous topic, do you think that maybe we should actually look at this when we take a deeper dive into the browser snooping?
Hold on a second. Nate just said, I wonder how much storage you would use if you installed every browser ever. You know what, man? I don't know. I mean, and I see that they're talking about Icecast. That was actually a good browser from back in the day too. And Iceweasel too is another one.
Yep. So my question, do you think Microsoft is doing these annoying pop-ups if you try to download Firefox?
Ooh, I don't know. That's a good one.
I wonder if they can only snoop because they're using a WebKit browser like Chrome. Because Edge and Chrome are both WebKit.
This is true. That's an interesting. That's a very interesting topic.
But yeah, I think people finally feel like this Firefox 120 snap is not as behind as some of the snaps can be, and that's something I've run into with snaps, is they tend to be a bit behind the current production or beta releases of any given software.
I mean, that lends in credence with what Canonical wants to do.
Right, I mean, they want stability.
Yeah, they want stability, so they're going to be behind, and so that being said, they're definitely going to be a little bit behind, but I agree with you. This is them taking a huge step forward. Into trying to do. They're doing better. I think what it is they're gaining a lot more confidence in Firefox.
Gotcha.
And so that's why that's happening, because before, when they first made Firefox into a snap, it was horrid. The actual open time, from the time that you launch it to the time you actually got to using Firefox was ginormously large in delay, and they worked on getting that better, and then they started implementing the changes to the newest version as fast as possible and ramping it up. So I mean, it's I think they have a lot of confidence in Firefox and Mozilla, and that's why they're doing it to be seemingly like the rolling release of it, if that makes sense. Nate says, I know Edge is their next testing platform for a subscription-based OS. They already started with Office. Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right.
I just replied to him, Nate. If you haven't, definitely go check our previous episode where we explore that idea of subscription-based OSs.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. Yeah, Windows 12.
I think it was 2 episodes ago. It might have been 2.
Yeah, it might have been 2. Windows 12 was probably the subscription-based event entirely. Yeah. I'm still, like I said, man, I definitely believe that is the way that Windows is going to go in the future. It was not floated out there for any reason other than it was a PR. It was a PR.
It was a stunt. They can pull it back if it went bad and know that it's not time to drop it yet.
And know exactly. They knew to see what kind of reaction they were going to get and to know which way they're going to have to go in order to get it, because that's exactly what they want.
Yep. But good move on the Firefox 120 snap, really just catching up. I think that's really cool.
I mean, I think once Canonical sees the Firefox doing this and they're actually allowing it to happen and go forward with it, they see how well this works for them. I think you're going to see more updated packages for them as well.
Yep.
For snaps, for more updated snaps, more current ones.
Now, important to note from the article here, although we're discussing the features of Firefox 120, the official release date is not until November 21st. And at the time of this episode, we are October the 28th. So these are feature announcements. You would have to download the beta binary if you want to check it out right now. The snap has not been made yet.
Right. Sorry, I should have mentioned that, and I'm sorry. My bad. Good call. I thought I mentioned. I thought I said that it was in beta, and
you may have
not actually alpha.
Yeah, it's in beta and it's pre-release still at this time.
So, yeah, but I mean, good move on them. I see. And it's wild. How many people bag on Ubuntu. But the reality of it is Ubuntu's actually been coming a long way. It's been coming a long way.
Absolutely. Just I remember when Linux was barely usable. And we've come so far. Not even just browser wise, but just everything we're getting to do here. But
Yeah, Nate says that he sees Linux market share rising a lot more as Valve keeps pushing Linux gaming, and it's true. It's very true.
And said Linux market share rising as Valve keeps pushing Linux gaming. Yeah, and I've been saying that since I was, before I even joined the Linux tube, and I was over on 0 Bytes with Dark Zero. This is exactly what I expected, that Valve was sort of really just leading the charge for Linux adoption.
Mm-hmm.
But now our poll's still been going in the background while we were here talking about everything, and the numbers have changed.
I see that.
The numbers have changed. We have a total of 6 votes in right now. We had a poll going for this topic, and we really want to see you guys talk about it, whether office suites are relevant. And for the beginning, half of the podcast, we had close to about 75% said no.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
And we have now reversed. We're at about 67% say that office suites are relevant, and 33% are saying no. And, let's open up the chat with you guys. Let's talk about why or why not and what that means. Well, and
first, I think we should definitely have the discussion as to what we were talking about yesterday, which led us to do this.
Okay, sure. Yeah. We had a little bit of a friendly debate. I wouldn't even say it was a disagreement. We definitely have solid points here, but so if I remember right, you were in favor of office suites being pre-installed, or no?
No, I am not in favor of office suites being pre-installed, because 9 out of 10, the office suites that are installed are not the ones that or a user wants. I mean, most users like LibreOffice, but a lot of people, or if they're installing an office suite, it's because you want to go to work using it for work or for school or whatever, and it needs to be more so 100% compatible with Microsoft Office. They own the Office suite, okay? Microsoft owns that world, and so everything's got to go to that standard, right?
Right.
So a lot of people tend to want to use only Office or for that, because it can be set up a lot more easier and more friendlier to be used in conjunction with Microsoft Office, MS Office. And then I think it was Sprungles who brought up or was it you, the cloud of Office 365?
Right. And I mean, you have so many cloud-based Office solutions as well. You have 365, you have the G Suite. Like, if you don't have a moral problem,
Google Docs, that's right. Yeah.
Right. G Suite includes Google Docs. Yeah. So if you don't have a moral problem with using Google to manage your documents, then I think that we are starting to see that a localized full-on Office suite is starting to not be the de facto way to do things. Like, Microsoft Office or something that works like that isn't as important as it used to be. If you can just hop on your browser, edit your stuff, and if it's not proprietary or sensitive, there is no need.
But that's where lies in the case. If you move, and that's what my argument is if you move everything to being 100% cloud-based, that means you've got corporations and companies that are out there that are putting NDAs out there, freaking contracts out there, everything out there in a cloud-based form. And I mean, you've had LastPass, Bitwarden, you've had several cloud computing storage places that are designed to be secure, hacked. And then, so now you've got major corporation documents out there that could potentially be hacked.
You are not wrong, and I'm not saying it's a 100% cut and dry solution, but I think for your oh boy, the chatters are playing again.
Yeah,
but all jokes aside, like, I think your average, say, non-techie person who might just write or homework reasons, or they're going to write a letter to their significant other, or if people still write letters.
Yeah. I think that
General
that's
purpose
fine.
Word documents and things like that can absolutely be handled in the cloud without need to take up localized storage. But for business needs, I think that an Office suite is still relevant. Sure, you need the security of not having your document out in the cloud. You're right.
Yeah, exactly. But how? But I mean, if you move everything to subscription based, I mean, and the reality of it is really outside of being a student and an occasional PDF, reading a PDF, that's sent to you in an email or whatever. I mean, how often do people really use Office suites? Or Office? I mean, I can't remember when the last time was I actually installed either of the offices on my machine.
Correct.
So I mean, if you think about it, it's all business driven, and that's where they need to focus at. Where's the security at on that? If they're going to go to cloud based, I mean, I imagine the Office 365 has some form of security put in place through wherever they're hosting it from, but really, man, I still don't trust Microsoft. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially with the white, I mean, with the freaking the malware we just talked about at the beginning of the show, right? I mean, the Stripe Fly malware. I mean, look at that. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
not good, man. Not good at all. And like I said, there are some really, really. I mean, imagine this. You know who uses 365 and says documents all the time across it? The U.S. government.
Really? That feels really insecure.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They do they do that. The only people that have security built in is the military aspect of the side of it, where they generate they have their own, you know, deployment of it in a secure server format. And in order to access it, you have to use an actual military government issued laptop. You got to insert your badge through a key reader that reads your badge and that kind of stuff.
Yep. I've
That's
seen
the level.
I've seen friends of mine who are contractors and stuff, and they do biometrics, they do RSA tokens. There's so many different security measures. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to deploy, if Office 365 or cloud, Office suites become cloud based like that, they're going to have to deploy some shit like that for major corporate. I mean, can you imagine, like Time Warner, Comcast, all these people sending their, spreadsheets for their year-long analytics. Also, their costing, their overhead, their, everything like that. Or, I mean, just being susceptible to that kind of crap. That's insane.
Yeah, Oglo said that the U.S. government still relies on Windows XP.
Windows XP. I don't know that they rely on Windows XP. I think they moved on to Windows 10. I have to find out. I have a couple friends of mine, but I know that their workstations were getting migrated over to Windows 10.
Right. I mean, I can't imagine the government using something that's actively not being security supported.
It was I know they were being migrated to Windows 10, but it was not the standard version of Windows 10. It was one that was completely stripped down of a bunch of stuff. It was void of a lot of stuff.
I wonder if it's similar to like how Tiny 11 is floating around, right?
Yeah,
if it's something almost like that with so many of the services and things just yoinked right out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And certain ones that were just put embedded for them and their purposes, depending on, I think, the department that they're in, like the Department of Defense versus the Department of Justice. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I know that it depends on the department as to which services are baked in or not.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I could see your point on Office suites being made, and right now there's 50% yes and 50% no on the poll.
Right, we have a deadlock tie.
Yeah, it's funny because it was way more, now it's changed.
Yeah,
But but the thing is unless there are security measures put in place for these suites, man, and they're going to have to be drastic ones, I don't see any business ever trying to use that. And that's the reality of the demographic of which you would be targeting that for anyhow.
right.
So
Man,
I don't know. I don't know, if you did that, what else would you do? I mean, you'd have to start. Would we see another instance of actual paper documents being drafted again? No more electronic,
I have to imagine.
documentation?
I have to imagine that some of the most secure things are still done that way. If you remove technology from the equation.
Colabara. Somebody, Springles just said in the chat, I wish Colabara Office would be a consumer. I've never even heard of Colabara Office.
No. That's it. We've got to do an Office Suite episode.
That'd be kind of funny.
Nate says they finally got rid of floppy drives in the defense systems and moved to encrypted keys.
Yep.
And maybe it's just my autism speaking here, but they should have abandoned that name when floppy disks stopped being floppy. It irritated me that they weren't floppy anymore. Like when you moved to the 3.5 plastic, they weren't floppy anymore. So why'd you call them that?
Yeah, you know what? You know what's funny though, when you think about it, them dealing with antiquated technology like that actually kind of insulates them a little bit because to a degree, like your modern day hackers don't know how to access those kind of drives. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think so? I think especially in Windows, the majority of storage is storage. I don't know that I would say that they're as safe on floppy as you might think.
I'm saying, yeah. No, I'm not talking about the storage part. I'm talking about just them being so antiquated in their hardware and their choices of software.
Yep.
Kind of insulates them a little bit.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to see a tie break before the end of our live episode today? We are still at a hard 50-50.
Yeah, we're at 50-50 and we have 4 minutes left, so I am not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Think they finally. Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just reading something in the chat, and it was what we were just talking about, the encrypted keys.
Sprinkle says they should just put RAID arrays on NVMe SSDs. Absolutely. That's the next upgrade for my production machine. It actually is. I want to get a second 2 terabyte drive so that I can do a RAID 0 on Linux. But I'm a little worried about, if there is a crash, then there goes everything.
Yeah, that would not be good. That's the only problem with raids, is that happens.
Well, only in the case of a RAID 0. All the rest have redundancy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I should have said that with RAID 0. Yeah. But definitely, but with platter drives, you brought up a good point. And although getting your data off of a platter drive might as well be like losing it forever because it's so damn expensive.
Well, you're doing surgery at that point to rebuild the drive with new parts, and you're totally right.
They take it into a sterile environment. They open the drive. They actually take the magnetic platters off the drive and they put it into a new one that's identical of it, and then they could read it again.
Right.
But with an SSD, it's like a flash memory, and once that board goes bad on there, there's no real way of getting that stuff off because it automatically just defiles the memory.
Right.
So you lose it forever. So that's the downside to that. And what a lot of people don't realize as well, people think that these NVMe drives and SSD drives are going to be around forever. But the fact of the matter is even in just sitting, they only have a life expectancy of like 15 years or something like that. With just sitting. So if you take and use one as a backup and just unplug it and just let it sit in the closet, it will degrade itself over time.
Right. Nothing is bulletproof.
Right. And also, they even have infinite. They don't have an infinite amount of read and writes. They have a limited amount of read and writes as well.
Yeah. So, all the way back here, I don't think the poll answered, are they relevant? I'm not sure that the discussion in the chat is I don't think we've reached a consensus here. I think I would say our Office Suite's relevant. I'd say yes, kinda.
Yeah, they're definitely relevant. They have a purpose. They
Yes.
have a reason.
Mhm.
Otherwise, they wouldn't exist. But the reason for which they were designed for at the time has died, and the suite itself has outlived what it is. And now to move into the more modern day computing need for which it would meet, they need to do something to definitely bring more security to it.
Yeah.
Because if it's moving in the direction that we were just talking about, which is the way everything is going, they got some work to do.
Yeah.
And that's what my whole point is.
Man,
Would you disagree?
No. What an episode, man. We've had quite a bit of all the spectrum of emotions on our podcast today, and I think I said that last week too.
Well, every episode's that way.
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah, we put everything we have into these episodes,
Yeah.
I mean, we come across with good sound points, good talking points, and and none of it's invalid, and it's definitely stuff to think about, pause to concern. That's why we do it. Either way, though, I will simply say what we always say, which is y'all keep doing what you do, keep on Linuxing, stay blessed, and above all, we'll see you in the very next one.
See you guys.